Yes, Jazakallah khair. Thank you for that question. The brothers just asked that, I'll repeat the question here. The brothers just asked that, how do you draw a balance between enjoining good and forbidding evil, and what we said about not criticizing people? Obviously, when I meant, brothers, about not criticizing people, I meant about, things which are not to do with the huquq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that of Islam. And when it comes to the huquq of Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like for example, you might find your daughter going out by wearing perfume, for example, your sister going out, mutabarrija, showing her body, for example, not properly covering herself. Obviously, at that point, you would need to tell her not to do that. That is so obviously this is in its place. Everything has its place, and so Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar has its place, and that cannot be taken away. But then criticism of people's actions, which are not to do with matters of Islam, such as why did you do that? Why did you put that thing there? Why did you put the glass up and not down? And why did you touch my computer? Why did you just move my book like that? Things which people argue about, things which are not to do with matters of this religion. Then it is in these matters that you do not criticize people. Rather, neither do you condemn people, even though you might have a right to. Yeah, even though you might have a right to. For example, your son may have taken the car and just things that he can drive properly, and he just had a crash with it, for example. Right? For example, obviously this is not a matter of Quran and Sunnah wherein he is obviously he's sinful, but obviously it's not a matter of Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar. It's rather that he has done a personal harm to you. So it is how you would deal in this matter is what we're talking about. That you would not criticize this person in such a case. Rather, you would teach him his lesson that he needs to learn in a different manner. And the way you would do that is by making him realize how this has truly hurt him himself. Not just hurt you, but it has also hurt him as well. Do you understand what I mean, akhi? So there is a place for Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar, and that is when Allah's rights and Rasul's rights and Islam's rights are being overlooked or being encroached upon. Whereas when your own rights and your personal effects are being encroached upon, then you do not criticize or condemn people. Rather, you approach them in a better way. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But
Yes.
what I mean is, even with that, enjoying there's a bit of, you do if you don't, you do if you don't. If you don't say anything, you can't just not say anything.
Yes. Well, okay. When you do Amr bil Ma'ruf Nahi al-Munkar, obviously you're going to have people who will, that is going to cause some friction. That is understandable, okay? I mean, that is part and parcel of this religion. You cannot tell people to do good except by also forbidding the evil. And that is, of course, going to cause friction, but then there are ways of doing that. Rasulullah, he had ways in which he commanded good and forbade the evil. And he did in the best of manners, without compromising his character, his good character. As you see, the person was urinating in the mosque. Wallahi, I was standing I was praying in Medina one day, and in the Prophet's mosque in Ramadan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just wanted this to happen. And this little child, he urinated. And this was in Taraweeh prayer, and this was in the first couple of rows in the Prophet's mosque. And when he urinated, man, subhanAllah, it's like everybody pounced on him. It's not an Arab, first of all. Remember, it's not a big man, but it's a small child. So a small child can do these things. And he urinated, and everybody pounced on him, and the poor father. And even through the prayer, they were like hitting the father and saying, "Take your son and take him away," etc., etc. After the salah was finished, those old men, etc., they threw such a tantrum. Why did you bring your son if he's going to urinate, this and that? And suddenly all the guys had to bring the whole, as you know, they removed the whole carpet and the whole shang bang and everything. They came there. The hysteria was unbelievable. You're trying to calm people down and remind them of that hadith Rasulullah and how the Arab urinated in the same mosque, and Rasulullah was so nice and kind to him. Yet when a small child who is more given into haram does this, wallahi, it's unbelievable. I can see the brother punishing his little brother. I saw that. I'm sorry, brother. Not appropriate. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Tfaddal. لا بس تفضل.
With regards to you said on one of the other points about praise people, encouraging and stuff. How do you balance that with the hadith? If it's authentic about throwing dust in the face of praising too much? How do you distinguish?
Yeah, when Rasulullah said throw dust, it's not literal meaning. Like for example, when he said fight with the person who tries to break your prayer, it's not literal. Because fighting with them and throwing dust on their face is not allowed in Islam. You can't throw dust on the faces of people. You can't fight a Muslim. And fighting a Muslim is fusuq, as you know. So what does he therefore mean by that? Meaning prevent him with the most, to the greatest extent. And this is what we truly have to understand, the illah behind the command of Rasulullah. Yani when we say, for example, when we use this and we use a zahir interpretation of these ahadith, sorry, the brother's question was, I'm sorry, I'll just mention the brother's question. The brother's question was, how do you join between the hadith of Rasulullah when he said that, you know, don't, if a person praises you to a face, throw dust on his face, and how do you join between this and also praising people and appreciating their good? We say we don't understand this hadith of Rasulullah on its face value. We understand the illah behind it. What is Rasulullah truly telling us and what is he advising us? Meaning when he's saying that when the person, you should throw mud on his face or etc., dust on his face with the person who praises to you to his face, he just means that you should tell the person no and don't praise me to my face or deny that praise. Or tell the person not to do this again, etc., etc. Not that when I was praising Brother Shakir, you should find some dust and throw it in my face. Come on. You understand what I mean, akhi? This has to be understood in the context of the general principles of Islam. And that is why people say, for example, you know, as I was mentioning, as Rasulullah said, if a person still continues on trying to break your sutra, you fight him, as it says. And does it truly mean that you should fight him? No, Allah says fighting is not permissible between two believers. Fighting what is the hukum of Islam if two believers fight? What is the hukum, brothers? It's fusuq, isn't it? It is extreme sin. It is shirkun asghar. It is lesser shirk, as you know. لا ترجعوا بعدي كفارا تضربوا أعناق بعضكم بعض. As Rasulullah said, don't become kuffar after me by hitting each other's necks. And this here shows that this action is shirk, but this is not the shirk that will take you out of Islam, but it is a shirk which is of a lesser status, lesser shirk. But it's still sinful, isn't it? Of a great, it's a great sin, it's a major sin to fight each other. And so we understand them in the context of the general principles of Islam. Is that?
Yeah, but I mean, praising to somebody's face from that hadith is something that is maybe discouraged. Is that what we deduce from that narration?
Yes, the brother is asking, what can we deduce therefore from the narration? Yes, that it is discouraged to praise someone to the face, but however, sometimes people praise people to the face for different reasons. To teach the other people how to respect them. As you know, for example, you praise your father and mother in front of or you praise the mother in front of the children. For what reason? In order to teach the children to praise the mom, isn't it? So many a times you have to understand the reason for which things are done. Jazakallah khair.
Should we then say that maybe extreme praise is
Without doubt, extreme praise in any case, whether it be to the face or to be not to the face, in any case it is not correct. You know, this is as you know, Rasulullah said, when you love someone, love him to an extent. When you hate someone, you also hate him to an extent. So as well, extreme praise is also in general not allowed, not to either to the face or away from the face as well. Sisters, don't have any questions? Okay.
You mentioned about friendship.
You should be able to answer your own question, akhi.
Concerning, non-Muslim colleagues or friends, how far can we have a relationship with them, and how could we use some of the points that you mentioned concerning friendship and influence them towards the deen of Islam?
I think everything that I mentioned, truly we can use them for inviting them to Islam, understanding their psychology, that they don't like to be criticized. They don't like you to go to them and say, do you know what's in the Bible? Bible says do this and do that. You know, Bible says etc. about women. No one likes to have a negative approach. Everyone likes a positive approach, you know. And this is why sometimes, you know, this methodology of our beloved teacher and Sheikh, as you know, who was his name? Sheikh Ahmed Didat, rahimahullah. May Allah have mercy on him. May Allah cure him from his disease and sickness and his state. Sheikh Ahmed Didat, of course, this approach that he had, it's a feel-good approach, yeah? It's a Muslim feel-good approach, as we call it. Makes the Muslims feel good. Yeah, you know, this is Christianity and this is Islam. This is not always the right approach, and this is not the approach of Rasulullah. And rather, the approach of Rasulullah was in a very nice manner, in a beautiful manner that would make the people so attracted to him, that would make a large number of people accept Islam because of his positive, affirmative manner rather than negative manner. I'm sure all those 7 ways of smiling, truly being interested in the people, finding and using, talking about those things that they're interested in, wallahi, they'll make you interested in yourself, and they will entrust you as their colleague and their true friend. And so next time when you come and tell them about Islam, they will open up to you. I'm sure they will open up to you. And you're doing it as by means of da'wah, not by means of taking them as friends. You're doing them as wasa'il al-da'wah, as means of da'wah, and I'm sure you can do that. Giving gifts, what is wrong with giving them a gift? Wallahi, we can even give those people who are close to Islam, as you know, in one of the 8 categories of zakat is mu'allifati qulubihim. Those people who you give them zakat in order to bring them into Islam, or you give them zakat in order to keep Islam's their harm away from Islam. And so wallahi, there is a brother who you think might accept Islam. Like for example, those brothers and sisters in Islam who are new reverts, for example, and their parents, as you know, they might like a gift. Why don't you, for example, even use zakat money to buy them a gift? This might bring them close to Islam. We forget about these great hikmah of trying to win friends and applying them in our da'wah, and unfortunately therefore our da'wah is always not as successful as it can be. So let's use these approaches as well, not just between ourselves to win friends amongst the Muslims, but also in general. As you can see, these are all points which even the disbelievers talk about. These are not just Islamic points, these are points disbelievers talk about, how a human individual will come close to another human individual, and so we can use them as well for da'wah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Jazakallah khair. I'm still waiting for the questions from sisters. Anything from the brothers? You see, when nobody has questions, it means one of two things. It means either they understood everything or they understood nothing. so right, Akhtar? Tfaddal, akhi.
Did you say that it is correct if you, in the case of correcting someone or admonishing someone, would it be better if you build a rapport with that individual first and foremost, prior to admonishing him or her about anything, rather than just going up to them like some people would, not knowing him or her and never seen them before, but because they have noticed some error in something that they're doing that is not actually Islamic, they would just go up to them and say, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. Thank you for that. I mean, the brother is asking that should we first establish a rapport with the people that we want to advise, a relationship with them, and gain their trust before we go and advise them. As we know, people these days, they just see a munkar and they go straight ahead and say, stop that, do that, don't do that. Wallahi, you know what, akhi, I always get told off by people. People always tell me off, and I wish they would just learn about how to, for example, they'll come to me and like it happened to me, it always happens to me. People after I recite Quran, they say, one brother, and unfortunately it is from a certain type of people. They always come to you and say, you said ghashiyah. I said, no, I said ghashiyah. Hal ataka hadithul ghashiyah, yeah? And they said, no, you said ghashiyah. The people are just so touchy sometimes. And they just want to say, they want to be, you said wrong, and you did this wrong, and you said takbiratul ihram too early, or you said too fast, or takbiratul intiqal when you're going down from the ground. Things like that. People are unbelievable how they find mistakes and how they think that it is upon them to advise. First of all, brothers and sisters in Islam, one must realize that Islam is a religion which takes into account the end purpose and the end goal of an individual. And it not only takes into account to make sure that the means is right, but also that the goals are right. So if you are going to concentrate on something small, like for example, if you're going to concentrate with a brother who doesn't have a beard and tell him to have a beard now, rather than not taking into account the person has not been praying, not being good to his parents, sleeping with other women, and going, taking drugs, alcohol, music, etc. If you're going to start with the beard, then this would obviously be you are completely illogical and dumb, isn't it, in your da'wah? And this is the way, unfortunately, people have been. They just look at a person, they say, okay, what's his problem? Thawb is not right. He's not lifting his finger in his salah. What else is not right? He hasn't got or for example, when you go to some mosques, the guy doesn't have a topi, he doesn't have a cap. Go straight to him. This is how you advise him. You don't start off with these things first of all. You evaluate the individual. Is there an immediate problem that he's doing? Is there an immediate thing, that a fitna that he's causing to other individuals? In such a case, you would advise him to stop that firstly. But then when he's an individual that you come to know of, or you know of that the person is, for example, someone new to the mosque, then you don't start off with the most outrageous thing about him straight away. Rather, you find out whether this person, what his problems truly are, and then you start off like a doctor. And you know, the doctors in the West, we have been trained. And we have been trained, as you know, I was in my 4th year in medicine, and they were training us to actually ask the patient about 12 minutes, would be just asking the patient about his history, to learn everything. And then, of course, thereafter we'll give the diagnosis. And so this is something which is very important. Understand the history of your patient. And everyone is a patient. When you want to give dawah, everyone is your patient. And you don't want to give the wrong dawah. You want to find out if giving a particular patient, a particular medicine, he will have reactions on it. So you ask him for these sort of things, don't you? What are your allergies? What are your problems? In the same way, we find out the same problems about this person. What are your interests? What are your, you know what I mean? And then thereafter, wallahi, we can have much more effectiveness in our dawah. And this is, wallahi, the way of the people of knowledge and people of logic. What I mentioned, first thing that I mentioned was that if, however, the problem that they're having will cause fitna to the other people, like for example, like a sister coming out, mutabarrija, for example, let's say in Medina, she's coming to the mosques why am I saying Medina? Because in Medina people are usually covered. Let's say a sister comes to the markets of Medina and she is displaying herself, and wearing very tight hijab and etc., displaying her face and makeup and perfume, etc., etc. Obviously, if she is doing this, she is also doing other worse things as well, isn't it? Yes or no? If she has the courage to be so sinful in front of people, she would have the courage to have actually more sinful, to do other things in her own private life, isn't it? However, in this situation, this sister is actually causing fitna to the people, isn't it? The men are being tempted, isn't it? The husbands of the wives are turning their heads to look at her, etc., etc., fitna. And so in this case, you would go up to her and say, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and cover yourself. You understand, akhi? Yeah. So therefore, we have to balance the affairs. Balance the affairs. I mean, if this brother who was just coming to the mosque and he doesn't have a beard and he's got tattoos on his arms, etc., etc., come off and he's come with a Metallica t-shirt. Metallica was in our times, guys, and etc., etc., right? And he comes like this, or he comes with the Britney Spears t-shirt, for example. And no, that's in our times. and he comes to the mosque. Obviously, you don't start off with these things. You try and find out, because he's not going to cause fitna to the people, is he? So, alhamdulillah, employ your wisdom, alhamdulillah. You employ your wisdom, inshallah, and your dawah will be successful, inshallah. Okay. What was also amazing as well, if I can just narrate this incident to you, is that Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah, he mentioned Shaykh Qardawi, as you know, Yusuf al-Qardawi, after he wrote his book Halal al-Haram in Islam, as you know, there are some reservations that the ulama have regarding certain things he mentioned in that book. And so when Qardawi came to see Shaykh bin Baz, and Shaykh bin Baz, Qardawi narrates this, actually Qardawi wrote this article after the death of Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah, okay? He wrote in that article, and I happened to read it, he wrote in that article that I went to Shaykh bin Baz to meet him, and Shaykh bin Baz took me and he spoke to me about some of the problems that I had, that he had with the book, some of the opinions that he narrated in that book. Okay, some of the opinions that he had in the book, and he kept on talking. And Qardawi wrote that I didn't pay any attention to what he was saying, because it's these scholars from the Hijaz, they're always like that. They have these opinions anyway. So I never paid any attention to what bin Baz was saying. But then bin Baz, later on, after he spoke to him about the mistakes in that book, then he said, but I have told the Wizara, I have told the ministry to allow this book to be distributed amongst the people, and for the people to benefit from it, and from benefit from what is right in the book, okay, and to benefit from it. And so we find, and then Qardawi writes that, wallahi, I was shocked at that, and I started to cry when I heard him say that, and I wished that I had paid attention to what he was saying to me, and he said, wallahi, if I had a chance, I would have rewritten the book. This is what Qardawi writes. And you see how husnul khuluq has, what effect husnul khuluq and nice manners has with an individual. And so, subhanAllah, there are ways of bringing about change in the individual without being confrontational, without condemning, without, unfortunately, this is the way we have. These are the ways which is this false understanding of jarh wa ta'deel has brought into the ummah. This bid'ah of jarh wa ta'deel, and as if this jarh wa ta'deel is something we should do between brothers. is a true fitna that some of these ignorant people who have bought into this ummah, ya akhi. And truly this fitna of jarh wa ta'deel is that it is applied to Quran and Sunnah, it is applied to authenticating the Sunnah, but not between individuals. Between individuals, we have to understand our psychology, and you can see the whole talk today was against the principles of jarh wa ta'deel, applying the principle of jarh wa ta'deel between individuals, because it was never devised to be between two human beings. It was never devised to be between two brothers in Islam. It was always devised to be a critical analysis of the hadith of Rasulullah, applying the strictest standards, which is not required for between two Muslim individuals. Yeah. Question says, what does women... Okay, what does woman slave, those who your right hands possess, mean in Islam? Those that your right hands possess are those slaves that have been taken when the Imam has decided to impose slavery upon the women of a conquered nation, of a nation that has fought against the Muslimin. And when the Muslims conquer that nation, of course, as you know, the Muslims, when they have a fight between the disbelievers and Muslims, they give them three choices, isn't it? First is either accept Islam, second is jizya, or third, fight. And if they fight and thereafter the Muslims take over, win and take over their property, and their women also become from the property, and the children as well, then it is left up to the leader. The leader may free them all, may say, okay, you're all free, or may exchange them for with other nations for money, or he may impose slavery upon them. And this is the slavery that this ayah of the Quran is talking about. Of course, in our times we don't have this, and as you know, if I'm not mistaken, King Abdulaziz in Saudi Arabia, when he banished slavery, at the time he freed all the slaves, and of course a Khalifa can do that as well. He can just urge everybody or order the people to free the slaves for compensation or non-compensation. This is a right which a Khalifa has, and so he exercised that right, and so all the slaves were freed. So the right hand, therefore, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning, the right hand are those female slaves which a person may have. But of course, many people don't understand this issue of female slaves, and they think that this is like concubines in Islam. No, this is not the case. You see, an walad in Islam, an walad, if you have a slave, and therefore you cannot force that woman to sleep with you. She cannot be forced to sleep with you. You cannot rape that woman. Okay, you are only allowed to do so if she comes willingly. If she wants to willingly do so, and if she willingly does so, and if you have a child with her, then you cannot sell that woman, right? You cannot sell her. She's not a commodity anymore. And after you die, she must be freed. She will be a free woman. Okay, you get that? And the child will be free. So subhanAllah, these things people don't understand, and people think that, oh, it's slavery, she will be slave forever. No, if you have a child with the woman, right, or she has a miscarriage after 40 days. Okay, if she has a miscarriage after 40 days, basically that the child was alive, because the ulama consider miscarriage after 40 days the blood that comes out to be the blood of childbirth bleeding, which is nifas, not the blood of istihada, which is defective blood. And so if a woman has, and you slept with this slave girl and she's had a miscarriage after 40 days, or she has given birth to your baby, to a child, then indeed she cannot be sold anymore. She is not a commodity anymore, and she is the mother of your child, and she will be freed after you die, whichever happens. So if you die first, of course she dies, and she dies. But if you die, then this is automatic freedom for her. All right. It says here, is it absolutely necessary to get the guardian's permission to get married for a sister, especially when either members may agree, but the main guardian doesn't? Okay. Wallahi, I don't want to delve into specific cases. And of course, every case requires its general fatwa, and every case requires its general hukum. But every case requires a general fatwa. But the general hukum of Islam, the general guideline of Islam is that la nikaha illa bi wali. There is no marriage except with the presence of a wali, except with the express permission of a wali. And so, if the wali has permitted someone else to be the wali, then that is fine. Or for example, if the wali has made someone else the wakil of the wali, then that is also fine. However, you cannot get married without the permission of a wali. A sister must have a wali to get married. Says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. For someone who has reverted to Islam recently, how would you suggest they acquire taqwa? Jazakallah khair. Wallahi, this is an important topic. How would you acquire taqwa? For a sister who wants to acquire taqwa, first of all, she must build her iman. How can she do so? She can do so by reading the Quran, by the seerah of Rasulullah, by engaging in those things that will increase her iman, in those activities that will increase her iman, such as performing hajj, such as performing umrah, such as giving charity, such as being involved with the sisters when they get together and do actions and deeds that will that are good for humanity, that are good for Islam and Muslimin and for humanity in general. And also you can increase taqwa by being around people of taqwa, by having friends who truly are people who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, of course, this will rub onto you as well, inshallah, and you will have taqwa as well. Also, to acquire taqwa, you will need to look after the rulings of Islam upon you, such as, for example, hijab, such as shyness, such as these are the essential precepts for a Muslim woman: to observe hijab, to observe her shyness, to remember her manners in front of men and other people. And in this way, wallahi, you will attain taqwa. Also, remember, you can attain taqwa by staying away from sins, and by also, remember, you can attain taqwa as well by doing those deeds which Rasulullah always used to tell us to do, by praying at night, by making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in this way you will truly attain taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Any question from the brothers?
About the question that was asked about the wali, from time to time we have a problem with the wali, they have a personal problem with the individual which has nothing to do with Islam. For example, race, for example, the big problem from time to time. So you say that you cannot have the permission without a wali, but a lot of the time the sisters don't have a choice.
Jazakallah khair. The brother is asking that sometimes we have problems with the wali and they don't do their job. And sometimes they prevent sisters from getting married to righteous people, and it might be just things of money, etc., etc. Without doubt, brothers and sisters in Islam, the ulama are agreed that if a wali does not perform his job, okay, I will mention what his job is. If a wali does not perform his job, then the waliship, he defaults his waliship, and the waliship moves on to the next person who is more worthy of being the wali. So, for example, if the father is not doing his job and is preventing the sister all the time, a brother comes, just prevents. All the time a good brother comes, he just prevents. And all he wants is for his daughter to get married to his brother's son, okay, who is back in Pakistan in one of the villages, and he doesn't know how to speak English and doesn't eat Western food, as an example, okay? This is exactly what happens, isn't it? They want us to marry, and we are in the West, we eat Western food, we can't speak Bengali, we can't speak Urdu, and they want us to marry someone who can't speak English and can only speak Urdu, and who doesn't eat our food and only eats their food. You know what I mean? It's a clash of cultures, isn't it? And so how they want us to be happy, they want themselves to be happy even though we are unhappy. Sometimes it happens. And so if a wali is not doing his job, and that is if a man comes to him asking for his daughter's hand, and he's not doing his job, his proper job, and that is to check whether this man is suitable, whether he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether he has a good character. So the two criteria, brothers and sisters in Islam, is truly only good character and iman in his heart. If he has good character and he has iman, he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then wallahi you should give it to him. This is the view of the muhaqqiqeen amongst the ulama, from the ulama who always hold on to who always certify and hold on to the most correct opinions in the Quran and Sunnah, to the opinions of the ulama which is based upon Quran and Sunnah. And this is the opinion of Imam Malik rahimahullah. As for the opinions of the other ulama, such as Imam Ahmed and Shafi rahimahullah and Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, that they used to say that there is another extra condition that is called al-kafa'a. Al-kafa'a basically means that person has to be suitable for the other one. Meaning, what do they mean by suitability? They define suitability to be many things. So Imam Ahmed and Shafi, for example, would say suitability is that they have to be, if they're Arabs, the other person has to be Arab, and the other one is non-Arab, the other one has to be non-Arab, etc., etc. Okay? Or for example, Abu Hanifa would say, for example, if the woman is from a rich tribe, the other person also be from a rich tribe, for example. Whereas fil haqiqah, this is incorrect. The view of the majority of the ulama that there is something called kafa'a, there is something called suitability, is incorrect in anything other than religion, meaning that the only suitability character, the only suitability criteria is Islam. Do you not see, because, why? The question is why? The answer is because if that was the case, then why did Rasulullah ﷺ marry Bilal, who was an Abyssinian slave, to some of the women of Medina? And some of the women of Medina were Arabs. True or not? Yes or no? However, Bilal, who was an Abyssinian slave, married some of the women of Medina. And who was Salman? Salman was a Persian. Radiallahu anhu, he married some of the women of Medina as well. And Rasulullah ﷺ, whose religion and his nobility and no one can ever compare to Rasulullah ﷺ. How did he marry therefore the women? Was there any balance in their suitability? Never was it. Can there be a balance? The difference between the people of this earth and Rasulullah ﷺ was the difference between the heavens and the earth. Yes or no? And so we see therefore there is nothing that is the criteria of suitability except religion. That is why the most correct opinion is the opinion of Imam Malik rahimahullah, and the opinion and this opinion has been supported by a large number of ulama such as Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah and others, that there is no kafa'ah except in religion. And so the only criteria that we need is good character and good religion, isn't it? Right, this is the only criteria that we have. And so our walis have to be trained on this, and they have to be told that wallahi the only criteria that we have is good religion and character. And alhamdulillah, I'm sure no one will go hungry in this land. No one will go hungry in this land. If you don't have money, the government will give you money. So what are you worried about truly at the end of the day? Okay, if you're worried about the person will not be able to earn money, this is not right. I'm sure no one goes hungry in UK, alhamdulillah. So your daughter will not go hungry. Use only these two criteria, religion and character, and inshallah you will definitely be successful. As Ali radiallahu anhu, a man came to him and said, oh Amir al-Mu'mineen, a man has proposed to my daughter. I don't know whether I should give her to him or not. And so Ali said, give only to the righteous, to the God-fearing man, to the man who has taqwa. For verily, if he loves her, then he will be good to her. And if he doesn't like her, meaning he later on doesn't like her anymore, then he will not be bad to her, because he fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, alhamdulillah, this is the criteria. And plus, sometimes when our walis want our sisters and their daughters to get married to people from our land because they're afraid of what people will say, because they, etc., etc. Wallahi, you are compromising the happiness of your daughter for your own happiness. And do you want that truly? Do they ever think that they're trying to compromise their happiness? Do they want that? Do you want your wife to have your daughter to have not allowed at all? Allah knows best. So the question is, therefore, someone tells you, Merry Christmas, what do you say? You say nothing. Jazakallah khair. Now you can't say same to you guys, you can't. You say nothing, Allah knows best. This is Ibn Taymiyyah was asked this question, and he said, you say nothing, Allah knows best. Any other questions from here? Any questions? Sisters have any questions? Tfaddal akhi.
When you did this about choosing a wife for qualities, choosing a wife, can you explain in that context what it means with regards to wealth and image?
Okay, the hadith of Rasulullah regarding that the woman is chosen for 4 things. 3, was it 4? I've forgotten, guys. 4 things, wasn't it? Yes, that the woman is chosen for 4 things: for religion, for lineage, for wealth, and for beauty. That's it. And Rasulullah said, may your nose be rubbed in dust. Choose religion. And of course, this shows that therefore truly that we should choose for religion. Let me just point out something here. Of course, the first and foremost criteria is religion. But then at the end of the day, also you need to choose someone that you are attracted to. At the end of the day, just because someone is religious, but at the same time she might be deaf, dumb and blind, doesn't mean that you should choose that person. You have to be attracted to that person as well. So first criteria is religion. Let's put the second criteria for our children, because wallahi, they need to protect themselves from the women of the world outside. So let them choose. Second criteria is attraction. We don't mean beauty, because people are attracted to different things. It may be the type of hair, or the sister might like, for example, how tall you are, etc., etc. Things like that. So choose attraction to be the second. First is religion. So first, the person with the most religion has a first choice. Secondly, person that you're physically attracted to. Everything else is wallahi not really important, but then it's always important. It's always good to get a sister from a good family, because you know that she will have been raised up from upon righteousness and upon looking after rights of people. And if you get a sister who might be from a bad family, then you don't have that guarantee. So therefore, it's always important to first of all go for religion. Right? Because you're not marrying the family. Remember, you're marrying the sister. Don't think you're marrying the family. You're marrying the sister, okay? I always tell my wife, I married you, I didn't marry your family. I married you. So religion first of all. Second of all, attraction, your attraction to that person and her attraction to you. And therefore after that, someone from a good family, someone who is good with kids, someone who will want kids, and someone who will look after your, I for example always prefer to go to a family for brothers, for example, from sisters who have had small children to raise, or for example have had small brothers that they have raised. Why? Because you know that they will be good with children and they will look after your homes. And these are practical advices that we can understand from the basis of the hadith. Of course, the hadith of Rasulullah when he said, don't choose these other things, meaning don't prove them as a primary choice. The primary choice now is Islam, without doubt. True or not? And then secondly after that, attraction, and third after that, good family, inshallah. Okay, it says here, if you have Muslim friends who are not practicing Islam and who you know, if you have Muslim friends who are not practicing Islam and who you know are not interested in hearing about Islam, how can one talk about Islam with them without making them feel offended by their behavior actions? First of all, they're not Muslim friends, they are your colleagues in Islam, your colleagues. So they're not Muslim friends, they are colleagues, and they shouldn't be your friends, your bosom buddies, rather they are your colleagues. So let's use the proper word. They are acquaintances, or they are colleagues at work or whatever, at school. So they are not your friends, because your friends are only Muslimin, first of all. Second of all, how can we talk about Islam without them being feeling offended? I'm sure there are ways of doing that. I'm sure you can discuss issues of Islam without talking about Islam. You can talk about creation and the purpose of creation without talking about God yet. You can talk about purpose of creation, trying to make them realize the need for a God without them even talking about God from the first place. Because even just the word these days, God, makes people turn away because they're atheists, for example, or agnostic. So let's talk about the principles and talk about the hikmah and talk about the wisdom rather than these words or these alqab or these titles that may draw people away from them. Talk about, for example, don't use the word Osama bin Laden, don't use the word terrorist, don't use the word, for example, jihad, no, it's true. I mean, subhanAllah, even our brothers used to advise us, don't use a miswak in front of them. Because when you use a miswak in front of them, they think you're freshening your teeth up so that you can eat them alive. Yeah, it's that silly, isn't it? It's psychologically that's the case, isn't it? Imagine you're going down the train. Yeah, you're going down the tram, isn't it, akhi? Think about it. And you're in a thobe and you've got a big turban on your head and you're only doing you're using a miswak. What do you think the people are going to think? Oh my God, it's that guy who blew up the drain the other day. He's freshening his teeth so he can eat our flesh. Literally, this is the case, isn't it? What do you reckon, Mehdi? Okay, so please don't do those actions which might be an extra barrier. It's not, obviously not everyone's going to think like that, but it's like a psychologically, they become like, it's not something you do in the West, is it? You don't clean your teeth, you don't brush your teeth in front of people. Imagine if someone was brushing his teeth in front of people. Yeah. So don't do those behaviors that offend the people, and also inshallah just continue on preaching to them in a way in which you don't use titles, only concentrate on the principles, concentrate on the wisdom. Any questions from brothers?
What is the importance of giving da'wah? So that means how is it important? Is obligatory to give da'wah to non-Muslims or Muslims?
Right. Without doubt, the amana of the trust of this Islam, the amana of this religion is binding upon everyone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّا عَرَضْنَا الْأَمَانَةَ عَلَى السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَالْجِبَالِ فَأَبَيْنَ أَن يَحْمِلْنَهَا وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ ظَلُومًا جَهُولًا. Verily we offer this amana, this trust, the trust to spread this religion, the trust of carrying this affair and telling the people and teaching it to the people. We offer this to the heavens and the earth and the mountains. فَأَبَيْنَ, so they said no. وَأَشْفَقْنَ مِنْهَا, and they turned away in fear. وَحَمَلَهَا الْإِنسَانُ, and mankind took it upon himself. Verily he was an ignorant fool. What does Allah say? Verily he was an ignorant fool. Because truly this is an amana, this is a great trust. It requires a lot of hard work from us, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication from us. And truly the verses in the Quran and Sunnah show that truly we need to give da'wah. This is obligatory for us to give da'wah, to give Allah an excuse for us living in the West. We're not permitted to live in the West because of wealth and all that, rather for the express purpose of spreading Islam, making our Muslims strong, strengthening our community, and thereafter spreading Islam. Allah knows best. So da'wah is obligatory. It is not as people think that it is it's optional. No. Says, Assalamu alaikum salam, is there anything a person can do to stop them from listening to music? Yes, of course, there are things that a person can do to stop them from listening to music. And many years ago, and I used to listen to music, but what stopped me was my dad once bought a cassette from Medina, and Shaykh Thowfeeq rahimahullah, hafidhahullah, after he had recited the Quran, and there was the dua for Khatm al-Quran that they were doing, and there was a man who was doing the Khatm al-Quran, and he was crying very very heavily, and he was, subhanAllah, so affected by what he was reciting. Obviously at that time I didn't know anything about Arabic at that time, and subhanAllah, I was so affected by how a grown man can truly cry, because wallahi I saw that music never made me cry. It never touched me that much to ever make me cry. The only thing it would do is make me hype up, but that's it. Never yeah, in a good way. Yeah, but never made me cry, akhi, Allah musta'an. So when I realized that there was something that would touch my heart even closer than music, I had to find out where it was, and truly it was the Quran. It was the Quran. And so as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given to any man two hearts in his jawf, in his chest. So we find that truly mankind can only have Quran. As Ibn Abbas mentioned, that verse means that a person can only have either Quran in his heart or music, and he cannot have the both together in his heart. And wallahi, if you do that, you will find, mashallah, that truly Quran is a beautiful replacement for music. Because music, what is it about? It's about love, it's about relationship, it's about, subhanAllah, things which, it's about, how you saw a woman and then she fell in love with you and you fell in love with her. Things like that, wallahi, which is not even true, because you think you listen to this music and you think, mashallah, that these women will fall in love with you, and then you're so disappointed. And it's just a culture, isn't it? It's the culture. They say drink Coca-Cola and you will be, as Abdul Rahim Green says in his beautiful talk and his most popular talk, Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll. Drink Coca-Cola, you will be happy. Drink Bacardi and you will be in paradise, as they say. I haven't seen that ad anyway that Ibrahim always talks about. But drink it and you will be in paradise. But what's the reality? When you drink Coca-Cola, you get fat. Yeah? And when you think you're so hot and you try and pick up a woman, she slaps you in your face and thinks and goes away. And so, astaghfirullah, it never works, does it? So music truly is making you live in a world that is not a reality. It's in a distant world. And the only thing that truly gives us satisfaction is the Quran. As Allah says in the Quran, "Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub." Is it not by remembrance of Allah that the hearts find rest? And test yourself. With music you will never find that. With Quran you will truly find pleasure of the heart. And for those people who are truly affected with music, and especially those brothers and sisters who are affected with music and with beautiful voices, then mashallah, there are so many reciters with beautiful voices. Try them out, sample them up. There are, mashallah, 20, 30 reciters nowadays with beautiful recitations. Sample them. I used to search for those ones that I liked, and so therefore that would be my replacement for music. Because you don't have to listen to just Thowfeeq, you don't have to just listen to Abdul Basit or Al-Husari. Try and find those ones that you like, and you will definitely find, mashallah, our reciters have such beautiful voices, mashallah. Okay, please explain in detail, inshallah, the rulings of performing salah, that is missed fard salah, between the Asr and Maghrib time. Okay, and also praying sunnah nafil between them, that is tahiyyat al-masjid between Asr and Maghrib prayer. Okay, if you're asking for my opinion, then and I would rather our Shaykh over here, Shaykh Shakil, answers this question, because I don't want to create any confusion. Jazakallah khair. I'll let you answer this question, akhi. Jazakallah khair. Sorry? You will answer it? Yes, the Shaykh will answer it. Shaykh Shakil will answer it, because he is more suitable to answer this question. And plus, it's always best when you come to a mosque to not give conflicting opinions, because it may be my opinion is different from his opinion, so as to preserve unity, inshallah, and not to confuse the people, because many of our brothers and sisters may not be at a stage in which to understand khilaf. And so it's always better to avoid these sort of questions to those people who are already there at the mosque and he's responsible for the mosque. Let him therefore take care of it. It will not cause, so he won't next time say, Thowfeeq, don't come back. Okay. Jazakallah khair. because I want to come back. Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Is it haram for a menstruating women to enter a masjid? Because I heard the Rasulullah cursed the women who did, and some scholars said it's haram, and he offered other opinions. Please, it's up to you as well. Yeah, I can offer my opinion, but I don't know if it's the same as his, so I will refrain. Assalamu alaikum salam. I got some gold as a gift for my mom and sister. Do I have to pay zakat on it? Another opinion for Sheikh Shakil. Will you answer this? Okay, Jazakallah khair. Sorry? I'd rather you answer it, inshallah. As for, I got some gold as a gift for my mom and sister. Do I have to pay zakat on it? And with the permission of our brother Sheikh Shakir, I mentioned that yes, you do have to pay zakat on it, and this is the most correct opinion. And there are numerous ahadith in Sunan Abi Dawud and At-Tirmidhi that show that zakat is wajib on the gold that a person has, and it is, and this is the opinion of the Hanafi scholars, and this is the most correct opinion, and this is the opinion of our ulama in our time as well. As for the vast majority of the scholars, then they base their statement. They say that no, it is not obligatory to pay zakat on gold. It is only obligatory to pay zakat on gold that you might have, which you rent out and you use for business, etc. As for their opinion, they base it upon the statement of Imam Tirmidhi rahimahullah in his Sunan, wherein he quotes the hadith of gold and zakat on gold. Then he says, "Lam yasih shay'un minha." There is no authentic hadith amongst these hadith. And so, as we know, these ulama, the ulama of the other three madhabs, they base their statement upon the statement of Tirmidhi rahimahullah. But the truth is, there are many authentic hadith of Rasulullah that show that zakat is obligatory on the gold. From them is the hadith of Rasulullah wherein a woman came in and she had a child on her hand, and the child had a bangle in her wrist, and Rasulullah said, "Hal addayti zakata, have you paid the zakat of that bangle?" And she said no. And so Rasulullah said, "Do you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it into a ring of fire on the day of judgment?" And he said no. And so she took it out of the hand of the child and she threw it to Rasulullah, meaning this is for Allah and His Messenger, meaning now I'm paying the zakat of it. So therefore all of this show therefore that there is zakat on the gold, irrespective of the gold, irrespective of whether the gold is used for business or not for business or for renting, etc., etc. As long as you have some sort of gold, and then zakat is obligatory on that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Number two is, what is the best way to advise parents, brothers and sisters? Jazakallah khair. The best way to advise parents, brothers and sisters is, without doubt, is to go to them with a smile, is to kiss them on their forehead, is to be nice and kind with them, to go to them with kind words, not to do as we used to do when we are accepting, this da'wah, Ahlus Sunnah, Jama'ah and Salafiyah. We used to be harsh with them, and we think that Salafiyah is to be harsh with our parents and children. Rather, it is the opposite. We go to them with a smile, we go to them, with rahmah and mercy in our hearts. We go to them with a gift. When was the last time you bought your mom a gift? When was the last time you bought your brother a gift? Take a gift, give them a small gift, subhanAllah. And wallahi, you will see their face shine up. And then after that, you can tell them easily about that which they have a problem with regarding Islam in steps. Remember, start with the most important thing and then end up with the least thing. Start off with the most important thing, then not praying. Start off with prayer, and thereafter with that which is lesser. And do as Rasulullah used to do with his uncle. He used to beseech him in the most pitiful of ways, in the most simplest of ways, and tell him, "Please, oh uncle, please accept Islam. Please accept Islam." He wouldn't be the other way as people are. Accept Islam right now. You're my uncle. What do you think you're doing? Things like that. No, not a rough manner, but in a simple, nice, beautiful, pleasant manner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. With that, inshallah, we come to the close. For the last question.
Yeah, are you allowed to kiss or hug the mother of your wife? Are you allowed to kiss or hug the mother of your wife?
Yes, the brother's asking regarding the mother of your wife. I can answer that because there's ijma' of the ulama on that, so it doesn't matter what he says. Okay, yes, you're allowed to kiss the mother of your wife because the mother of your wife is your mother as well. And because the mother of your wife, it is haram until the day of judgment to marry her as well. So you can never marry her. Even if you divorce your wife as well, she will continue to be your mahram, and she will never, you can never marry her. So therefore she is like a person who is part of your family, like your own mother, that you can hug and kiss her as well, inshallah. Alright, last question, Akhi. Tafadhal.
Been Muslim about 3 years now.
Sorry?
I've been Muslim for about 3 years.
MashaAllah.
And actually shaking of the hands, when we come to you, to shake your hands sometimes. And I don't know, because I haven't been really trained. I always say, no, I'm not allowed to touch you. Because, I'm not allowed to touch you.
to a woman.
Yeah, okay. Let me just advise you, okay. I understand this problem of, sorry, you want to continue with the question?
So,
You want to continue? Is there something else you want to say?
I want you to, I want to know, you know, are we allowed to do that? Shake their hands and things like this, you know? Like women outside there, because they don't know.
Okay, I can see some hands coming up for questions, but I have to go really.
The excused question should be only related to your topic of lecture. Only questions should be answered which are related to the lecture.
Yes, that is better. That's true.
Practice of our day.
That's true. Alhamdulillah. That means I don't have to answer this question then.
Otherwise, you won't have.
Jazakallah khair. Yes, I'll answer it now. I'm answering. Jazakallah khair, akhi. Alhamdulillah. So, thank you, Uncle. That's true, brothers. Please try and make it questions pertinent to what I have said. And Alhamdulillah, if we moved on from those questions, I will answer. If you permit me, Uncle, I will answer his question, inshallah.
No question.
All right, inshallah, you can appease Uncle, inshallah. Okay, Jazakallah khair for your question regarding touching, shaking hands with women, and is it permitted or not, or how do we do it? You know, I mean, first of all, of course, it's not permitted for you to touch another woman's hands. It is not permitted for you to touch a woman who is not a mahram to you, who you're not a mahram to. It is not permissible for you to touch her body for whatever part of that body be, whether it be with a cover or whether it be without a cover. And it is not permissible for you to touch her at all. So therefore, as far as shaking is concerned, shaking their hands is concerned, then of course you avoid that. And as for the hadith of Rasulullah that mentioned that Rasulullah touched the hands of the women in order to give bay'ah to them, etc., etc., these are all not authentic, or they have a different meaning. That Rasulullah did not touch their hands, rather they touched the hem of the Rasul's dress, as the ulama mentioned. And as Aisha radiallahu anha mentioned, that anyone who says that Rasulullah shook the hands with another woman, then he is a liar. And that is true. Rasulullah never touched any woman who is not permissible to him. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is, when women offers you your hand, there's a way of speaking. You can say, no, I'm sorry, I can't touch your hand. You can say that, but of course that will mean that perhaps the person will think that the person is filthy. That's why you don't touch. You know what I mean? You can give a wrong message through that. You can say, sister, I'm sorry. My religion teaches me to respect you. You so with such a high status and with such high nobility that I'm unable to shake your hands. Or words to that matter. And I've tried that before and said that our religion teaches to respect women with such a high status that we are therefore unable to touch your blessed hand or whatever. You know what I mean. If you want to get married to her, you can say things like that. But something of the sort that would show that you truly respect women, and that you're not doing it because you don't want, because she's filthy or ugly or whatever, but you're doing it because wallahi, it has happened.
State that we are Muslim, we are not allowed to shake hand with it.
Yes, thank you, Uncle. Yes.
Muslim, when there is such situation, he should state with you that I am Muslim, I am not allowed.
Yes, he should refuse, exactly. Don't touch her hands, as Uncle said, but do it in a nice way, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. I will finish here, inshallah.